Okay, so I get it. There's a lot of people who see themselves as followers of this extraordinary man called Jesus. Someone who lived 2,000 years ago and whose life and teachings have created a global movement called Christianity. But what if you're one of those who've put baby Jesus along with Father Christmas and the Tooth Fairy in a room marked fantasy, fiction, or fairy tale? What if, like Uncle Sam, you see Jesus as some kind of poster figure that religion has created to raise up an army of supporters? Or like the fictional character Jack Dawson in the film Titanic, you see Jesus as a figment of a writer's imagination. Then again, you might be one of those who believe that this Jewish teacher was more Robin Hood than rabbi. A good man who brought hope to the poor while robbing the religious rich of their disillusioned followers. Wouldn't all this justify why the name Jesus is today more likely to be used as a swear word than a term of endearment? But that said, Christ followers actually believe that the biblical Jesus is the most remarkable man that ever lived, the very centerpiece of human civilization. So surely this global phenomenon deserves a few minutes of our time in an attempt to discover the truth. When a British missionary went missing in Africa a number of years ago, the newspaper headline simply read, "Where is Livingstone?" Having lost contact with the outside world, Dr. David Livingstone was presumed to be either dead or dying. But determined to find the truth, the owner of the New York Herald asked his reporter Henry Stanley to do whatever it takes to find Livingstone. Having spent months trekking through the African jungle, Stanley not only discovered Livingstone, but found him to be alive and well. From that momentous meeting, Stanley forged a lifelong friendship with a man the rest of the world thought to be dead. So what if we spend the next 5 minutes searching for the truth about this man called Jesus? And in order to do that, we created our own courtroom scene in which to examine the evidence and to decide for ourselves what's true. If we did, perhaps the first question we'd want to ask a Christ follower about the biblical Jesus is, did he live? Did this man actually exist? Because if he didn't, Christianity falls at the first hurdle. But having stepped into the witness box, a Christ follower would, having placed their hand on the Bible, promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But what if the Bible was seen to be inadmissible evidence, and Christianity was forced to look elsewhere to prove the existence of Jesus? In that case, defense lawyers would probably call for a calendar, arguing that this was a vital piece of evidence. They'd point out that in terms of time, all human history is balanced between the letters BC and AD, making the life of Jesus Christ the central figure of modern times. However, the prosecutor would probably argue that this was insufficient evidence. In this instance, the defense team might refer to a certain piece of correspondence sent to a Roman emperor that refers to Christians being on trial for worshipping a man called Jesus. Then again, they might prefer to bring out a first-century commentary that records the origins of Christianity and the existence of a man called Jesus, all of which may or may not convince the critics. Yet because Christianity is not only based on the life, but also the teachings of Jesus, our second question would have to be, did he lie? To say I have a dream, or I'm the greatest, is one thing. To speak out against injustice and poverty is another. But to go public on the belief that you're personally related to God is something else. But that's exactly what Jesus did. All world leaders make some incredible claims, but what the biblical Jesus taught about his divinity and destiny either made him a liar, lunatic, or someone simply having a laugh. But none of these answers are relevant if Jesus simply lived an incredible life and died an excruciating death. So perhaps now is a good moment to ask our final question, which has to be, did he last? Christianity differs from all other religions in that it believes the biblical Jesus actually rose from the dead. It's true to say that some people have their doubts, reckoning that Jesus' death was a sham, and the Easter story more resuscitation than resurrection. Others advocate that the disciples simply stole the body, so as to add some religious spin to their political mandate. However, in their defence, Christ's followers would probably quote eyewitnesses' accounts, share medical evidence, give numerous historic facts to prove what they believe about the reality of the resurrection. But for those seeking answers to these questions, did Jesus live? Did he lie? Or did he last? No amount of human reason is ultimately going to be enough. What's needed is a divine revelation. Like the famous Greek mathematician Archimedes, you and I might be submerged in a bath of disbelief, soaking in the waters of uncertainty. But it only takes a eureka moment to discover the truth, and by faith accept that the biblical Jesus lived a perfect life, died a sacrificial death, and rose again to eternally demonstrate God's love for all mankind. Because Jesus is more than a swear word. He's all that God has to say.